an issue that we do see in some environments is because, statistics is one of those great things. You can make any data set say pretty much whatever you want.
Yep.
And we find that sometimes. So, for instance, one customer, really high abandon rates, they thought they didn't have enough staff, and therefore all their call taking MI, all their intraday patterns and everything else were all based on when they answered the calls, not actually when the customer contacted them. So everything downstream, because that's how they wanted to skew it, because they said, well, I want 500 calls a day. So they'd show you a pattern that dealt with 500 calls a day. They were getting 1,000 calls a day in real terms. But they didn't actually, because they'd done it that long ago and skewed it that long, they didn't even understand that the intraday profile they were working to was the answered profile and not actually the customer demand profile. So when you try and fix it, you're suddenly in the realms of going, oh, wait a minute. Well, I only get 40 calls at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's like, no, you don't. You get 140 calls at 10 o'clock in the morning. No, get 40. It says here 40. It said it might do. That's how many you answer. 140 customers try and call you at 10 o'clock in the morning, but you only answer 40 of them. So you get, so it's like Sandeep said, we don't like data that's been manipulated. For those reasons, it's like, never take anybody's report at face value. We don't even take system reports at face value, do we? So, it's like a report out of a VIA, it's like, well, I know that AHT is in wrong bucket for that, and I know this and that, and it's like, oh, wait a minute. And what report you look at, AHT is different if you don't do it from the data, because it's all the components. How many components is the AHT in a VIA? 10, 12, something like that?
Yeah.
Because you've got all these little different states, and each report has a different skew on it, and each customer then has a different skew. So it's why we always request raw data every time, because it's just it's too easy to not willfully manipulate it. Some do, but just inadvertently make an error or put a filter on or whatever that just absolutely skews the view of what you're getting.
Other CCAS solutions are available.
Absolutely right.
Yes, and they all have their own intrinsic nuances that you have to get around. None of them spit a report out that's 100% accurate for what we want, because we want to see everything.
So that's the raw data that comes out.
Yeah. And when we are dealing with our clients and our customers, I can't remember the last time any one of them was able to provide me with not the CCAS data dictionary, but their actual, this is how our measures are calculated dictionary. I think I've had one client in like 3 years that's been able to provide me with that. So people put these things in, and when their MI/BI teams leave, or people move on, or whoever builds the reports moves on, they have no idea, without going into the reports and then configuring the configurations of everything, how things are calculated.
Yeah. And it's not just the data out of the systems. So it can be collated data that's done in a certain way. So in a previous life, I worked with an MI team so they built a report that tracked attrition, right? And they built it for commercial purposes, which is fine because it had its use. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the business took that attrition report as gospel of what's that their attrition was running at. The issue with it is it worked in heads. So a part-timer had the same impact in attrition as a full-time person. The problem with that is when you recruit people, you only generally ever recruit full-time, and then any part-time people are usually done through flexible working requests and things like that, and people coming back from maternity, paternity, all that want to change their hours. So what I actually did was, they were saying, well, X% left. They might be saying annualised attrition was 100%. But if you work it out the right way, annualised attrition was only 80%. So you're essentially saying, I'm going to lose 20% more people than I actually am, because that report was based on head count, because commercial decided they wanted to know what percentage of heads left, and therefore what they thought they were going to recruit. They didn't understand that actually when you were doing the recruitment, you only ever recruited full time. So you had to convert everything back to hours and FTE. And that was wrong for 8 years before we spotted it and went, no, you need to rework it to do it this way. So as a planning team, we actually calculated all our own attrition stats. Everybody was saying, well, the wallboard says this. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but that's not right. Operationally and planning-wise, that's not right. Commercial likes that number. That's their number. It's fine, it's fit for purpose for them, but it's not for what we do. So we had to recalculate it. So it's things like that as well. It's not even just data out of the systems. It's just how reporting has been built for a business. You have to get under the skin of that because it may not have been built for the purpose that it's being used, which obviously throws up a different. It's right for the purpose it was built for,
Yeah.
but not for what everybody's using it for, which is that other spin that we try and get underneath of by asking. Actually, well, I don't really want you to tell me the measure. I want you to tell me how many people left, how many full timers, how many part timers, what were their hours.
Break down the actual data.
Yes, give me the actuals, and then I'll work out what your attrition number is off the back of it.